Because if you're not reading a book by a Palestinian author at the moment, what are you doing with your life? Hi, my name is Florence, and welcome back to the One More Book Podcast YouTube channel, or as a podcast edition. I am back with a recap of the books that I read in September. I'm not sure if I did one for August. If not, I will do that after this. So these are the books that I read in September. It was a very interesting month. I read really good books. There were some disappointing ones, but all in all, it was an amazing reading month. How was your reading month in September? So the first book that I read in September is Das letzte Himmel, meine Suche nach Palästina by Alena Jabarine. So it translates to The Last Heaven, My Search for Palestine by Alena Jabarine. And I loved this book. It took me some time to read this book. I believe I started reading it in August, but because I'm a slow reader when it comes to German books, and this is a memoir. It's a memoir written by an author who is a journalist. She has worked with really big organizations here in Germany. Actually, she's from Hamburg, the city where I'm also living in. And she is of Palestinian descent, but she actually has Israeli citizenship. So her parents, her great-grandparents, or her grandparents found themselves on the other side of the wall. They're Palestinians, but due to just the way occupation happens in Palestine, her grandparents end up their how do you call it? Their Grundstück, their compound, the land where they are. They end up being moved to Israel. So they are Palestinians, but they have Israeli citizenship. So this gives her a bit of an advantage because she is allowed to travel from Palestine to Israel and back, but also because she's a journalist. So at this time, the memoir is written in around 3 years that she was living in Palestine. She was living in Israel, and then she would visit Palestine. So yeah, that's when she decided to write this book. And I love this book because of how intimate it is. It is a moving and an intimate journey as we accompany Alena as she is taking this journey to Palestine. She's trying to, her book, she says that Palestine is a place which she feels like she is connected to, but she also at the same time feels like she does not know or has very little understanding of. So all along, she's talking to people, talking to her friends, talking to Palestinians, and just trying to find out exactly, okay, tell me about your Palestine. And in a way of doing these interviews, she's also finding out about what Palestine means to her. I really love this book. Another thing that I love about this book is that it shows us that existing in a land under occupation is the highest form of resistance, because resistance is more than just fighting to survive. It is also the identity that Palestinians carry. And I think not only Palestinians, anyone who is living in an occupied land or whose life is being targeted. When we think of people in Congo, we think of people in Sudan. If your life is being targeted, by just existing, you are resisting, which I think is such an important message for these people who are affected, but also to us who are living in countries that are actually oppressing these people. The second book I read was If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin, which I read together with a book club, and we already talked about it. It is my first ever read by James Baldwin. I remember last year I started reading Giovanni's Room, and then I don't know, I just panicked because I wasn't connecting with the book. It was, and I was so scared because I was just like, I cannot not connect to James Baldwin's writing, like I would be banned by the book community if that ever came out. So I stopped reading it. I gave it like a soft DNF. So when the chance came to read another book by him, which is fiction, I jumped at it, and this was beautiful. This I enjoyed, and I'm so happy because now I can go in confidently saying that, oh, I already read one of his books and I liked it. What I enjoyed about this book is not only that it was a quick read, but it kept me very intrigued from the cover to cover, as I felt like I was experiencing every emotion that these two, the main characters in this book, were going through. So in the book, we meet Tish and Fonny, who are young lovers. They're in a relationship. They're living in the midst of a racist America, and they're just trying to build a life together as people who are in love. But of course, that does not happen because they are faced with the hardships of existing in a racist America, in Harlem. I believe they were living in Harlem. I loved how love was still in the Mittelpunkt, in the center, was centered. Love was centered, and not just their love, but familial love. The love that their families, they experienced with their family members, the community, how that is needed. I am going to definitely watch the film because I've been told that the film is just as good. So I'm going to watch the film, but I enjoyed his fiction. It was a sad book, but still it was light in a way, but still talking about important things, but you could still enjoy it, which I did. The next book is Surrender to Me by the Tasha Marie, which is an age gap romance between a 28-year-old Honey Lake, who is an entrepreneur who is seeking for funding for her business, and then she meets a 41-year-old called Legend at this retreat where like entrepreneurs looking for funding are supposed to match up with venture capitalists who might finance their business ideas. I did not like this book. First of all, I did not even like the names of the characters. Who names people Honey Lake and Legend? It felt so uninspiring. And it's by a Black author, and the characters are Black, and I love romance, but this just felt so rushed. It was just not so well written. I loved the idea, but that was just it. There was no chemistry between the characters, because Legend tells Honey that I will give you whatever you need if you say yes to spending the weekend with me, like no questions asked, you don't tell me no. And of course, Honey Lake says, yes, I will, because she needs the funding. And she's also intrigued. I did not see why she was intrigued, because there was really nothing about it. Felt so amateur. It felt so amateur. There was the chemistry was not there. It wasn't intriguing. The spice was it was spicy, but not spicy as in, how do I say it? Not sophisticated spicy. It felt just like, I don't know, like not even Mills and Boone. It was just terrible. This book really annoyed me because it was recommended by a YouTuber who I love. And she really, really heaped praise on it. So I'm just like, Huh? Huh? Yeah, I did not like this book. I did not like the characters. I did not like Legend. He was 41. He had money. That was it. He had a nice body. He had tattoos. That was it. They didn't even have, like, usually the main characters in a romance book have like really fun banter. There was nothing. There's no. This was a disappointing read for me. Like, oh. Next book that I read was Sherry by Chiamaka Okike, who is an Nigerian author, a queer Nigerian author. I love this book. She reached out to me and asked if she could be interviewed on our podcast, and we did that. So there's a podcast episode that you can listen to where we talk to her about her book, about her work. She's so young and she is so talented, so talented. So Sherry is it's a novella, so it's really small. It's a heartfelt novella about a young woman, a Nigerian woman living in the UK, who decides to go on the day of the 1-year anniversary of her sister's death. She decides to set out on an adventure in London with a friend. So in the middle of grieving, she decides, hey, I want to experience some adventure. So she sets out for this adventure, which is filled with unexpected encounters and mishaps, really, really funny, but also fun conversations that she has on this one night. And on this journey, she also explores grief. She explores how this grief is mixed with joy and with fear and with starting over and rediscovering herself after dealing with this loss for over 1 year. And it's a beautiful mix of wit, of poetry, of humor. This book really reminded me that all of these things can exist at the same time. We don't need to separate them. We can experience all these feelings together at the same time. And because that's life, that's just life. So this book I absolutely loved. Next book that I read is The Emperor of Gladness, which is Ocean Vuong's latest novel. I think I shared about going for his book reading when he came to Hamburg. I love Ocean Vuong. I have read his other book, On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous. So when this book came out, I had to pick it up. And the book is about an unexpected friendship between a young Asian man, a Vietnamese, a young man who is also gay, and an elderly woman in a small town. It's set in a small town in, I think, Connecticut. It's called East Gladness. So they have this brief encounter on a bridge in this small town, a small town where nothing really happens. People just leave because nothing happens in this town. And I was not disappointed because Ocean Vuong is a master of writing. The way he intertwines the harsh realities of American life, poverty, racism, addiction, classism, migration, aging, economic hardships, how he's able to intertwine all these really, really heavy themes into the everyday struggles of the characters in the book. These are characters who remain behind and who are often overlooked and exploited by capitalism, exploited by big corporations, exploited by the government. So rather than glorifying resistance or escapism, like, the way people always escape from small towns, and that's how books end anyway. Even in his reading, he says that he does not think that this book will ever be turned into actually most of his books, he does not think they will be turned into movies because they have a sad ending. Like his characters never really make it out, So he says he wants to bring into light the forgotten people. Like not everyone manages to get out. So the book tenderly portrays those who stay behind, who have to live with these broken dreams and find meaning in their shared loss and unfulfilled dreams. And yeah, I just like that these characters are also written about. Not everyone gets to escape, but somehow these people who stay behind, they have this quiet resilience and they come together as a community and are there for each other. So like they're also existing. And their stories also need to be told. So I mean, Ocean Vuong can do no wrong in my eyes. Then the final book that I read in September is Things I Have Withheld by Kay Miller. And this can be, it's like a memoir, but in a lyrical collection of essays. He does it in essay form. And in this book, he's exploring like silence in which so many important things are kept, things that are never talked about, things that he himself has wanted to say, or things that he feels like people have wanted to say, but they have decided not to say. And I have to admit that despite the lyrical writing and the way he tells his story, his life experiences, how he describes them, those moments where he has stayed silent in the face of adversity, I unfortunately could not connect with this book and also just not connect with him as a person. And I think that is important, especially for me when I'm reading like a memoir. Maybe because this was written in the form of an essay, it felt like he was preaching, felt a bit preachy. Unfortunately, I enjoyed his writing. I would probably pick up a book by him, but this just didn't work for me. People speak very highly about it. It just didn't hit the right spots for me. So that happens. We are all different. I will definitely pick his other book. I think it's called The August Town, because he is good. He can write. But this one just didn't work for me. Yeah. So those are the books that I read in the month of September. Please let me know if you've read any. And just let me know if you've also which books you read in September were hits, which were misses. And if you have a YouTube channel or if you review books, let me know so I can go and watch your videos or read your reviews. You can also read my reviews. I share them on GOODREADS and also on my website. But of course, you can also listen to the podcast, the interviews, and just life, how I talk about everything in between pages. Thank you so much for joining me today, and yeah, take care. Bye.